The GOP leadership is attempting to put the attention on tax reform. This is internal spats have taken over the party, and headlines just keep coming out of Washington. Joining us now on what this means for tax reform and the Republican Party from Capitol Hill is Representative Dave Brat of Virginia. Brat is also a member of the House Budget Committee and the House Freedom Caucus.
Congressman Brat, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, before you pass a theoretical tax reform bill, you have to pass this budget ahead of you right now. How confident are you that the House is going to pass the budget today?
Yeah, we passed the budget. We passed 12 appropriations bills. And this is basically just proceeding through the conference report to save us a little time. And so I think the vote's there. It's a little tight, but I think we'll get through the agreeing on the conference, and that saves us 2 or 3 weeks. And that'll enable the House, hopefully, to get the tax package done before Thanksgiving, and then the Senate hopefully gets it done before Christmas. So that's the timeline.
Yeah, time is of the essence here. Your colleague, Congressman Matt Gaetz, has called the Senate version of the budget atrociously bad, but that the House would still adopt it. What do you make of that characterization?
Yeah, well, he's talking about the budget itself, and so the deficit number right now is about $666 billion, right? So not a good number for a lot of reasons, and we've got to do better than that in the future. But right now, the best way to get the deficit down is to get economic growth up. And on the other side of the aisle, I mean, we wish we had the Democrats with us. Schumer a month or two ago was for corporate rate reductions, and now they're fighting pretty hard against. They put in their own tax bill 2 weeks ago. The progressive budget raised taxes $10 trillion, spending up $11 trillion, and debt and deficit higher than the Republican alternative where we cut taxes. And so we're outperforming our competitor, but our own side can do much better on the spending side. That's the swamp, right? And the American people know that's what's broken. They're sending all their money up to D.C., and it's not getting back to the people. And so we've got to improve. The swamp needs to lose some power. We got to send some of the money back home.
Gotcha. Now, what is the Freedom Caucus's thinking when it comes to tax reform? Are there any specific red lines for you?
Yeah, well, we had a red line to leadership, and the red line is after the Senate kind of did a total fail on Obamacare, right? They started off with a full bill and then a half bill, then a skinny bill that didn't do much of anything, and they couldn't even get to vote there. So all the Freedom Caucus just has that sense of urgency, right? We want to see the bill itself written up within 2 weeks. So Ways and Means will write it up. The leadership has assured us we'll see the full bill. We can share it with our constituents. Our job title is representative, so we want to represent our constituents back home, and that's our major concern. And we've agreed to the tax package, right? 20% corporate rate, 25% pass-through for small business, repatriation from abroad, and then a middle-class tax cut, right? The rates coming down for everybody. That's what we agreed to. So if that package stays in place, we're excited about it. Leadership's done a good job. They started communicating early with us this time. The House had 2, the Senate had 2, the White House had 2 reps. We all got together, and this is a good bill. This is going to get the economy growing at 3% instead of the old 1.5%, and that's worth about $1 trillion over time. And so it's good news. And the latest estimates, if people want to go see, there's a good back and forth in the Wall Street Journal the last couple days. Kevin Hassett, and then a University of Chicago professor, Casey Mulligan, very high-end economists who are estimating $4,000 back in the pockets of the middle class. And there's a big debate on that, but go read where the evidence lies. And I think we got a pretty good case for the American people.
Congressman Brat, of course, in the process of reform, politicians are trying to find areas where they can raise revenue. And, of course, whenever you get into that, you find certain things that people feel very strongly about not touching, including their 401k deductions. We've heard the president say that that's off the table, but it doesn't necessarily appear that everyone on Capitol Hill is totally on board with that. Where would you stand on the idea of capping 401k deductions at a much lower level than they are now?
Yeah, I think we don't want to mess around with people's 401ks, and I haven't heard any conversation on that issue. We're meeting with Ways and Means. We had a meeting yesterday on the corporate rate. That has never come up, so I don't know how the origin of where that news story came from, but we're still up at the high level, right? We're dealing with $1 trillion issues and the $1 trillion pay-fors, and how are we going to pay for it? And that's why the urgency, right? When the swamp kicks in and K Street says, hey, we want our special deal, we want our special deduction, we want our loophole, if they maintain all those special loopholes, then we'll lose money that should go back to the middle class worker back home. And that's what we're fighting for.